All right, so we're supposed to solve for x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the summation formulas for sine and then the difference formula for sine. So just going through the formula, it says take the sine of x times the cosine of pi over 3 plus the cosine of x times the sine of pi over 3 plus, and now I'm going to go through the difference formula for sine here. So I've got the sine of x, the cosine of pi over 3. This time it'll be a minus cosine x sine of pi over 3 equals 1. Okay, now as I look through this, I'm going to see that I have cosine x sine of pi over 3 and then minus cosine x sine of pi over 3. Those are going to completely cancel out. And then as I look at these two, these are identical, so I'm going to have two of those. So I have 2 sine x cosine of pi over 3 equals 1. And then cosine of pi over 3, I can actually figure out what that is using the unit circle. Pi over 3 is right here. X is the cosine value, and it's the short one. So I've got 2 times the sine of x times 1/2 equals 1. And then my 2's are going to cancel out. So now I just have that sine of x equals 1. And sine equals 1 up here at 90 degrees, or in this case we're in radians, so x equals pi over 2. We're supposed to find sine of 2u, cosine 2u, and tangent of 2u using the double angle formulas. Before I do that, I'm going to set up what they gave me here. So tangent, it says it's between pi and 3 pi over 2, so it's in the third quadrant. So here's u. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. They're both going to be negative in this quadrant. And then if I do Pythagorean theorem, I get square root of 5. So now I want to start finding, sine of 2u, which the formula for that is 2 sine u cosine u. So I get 2 times, now that I have this triangle over here, I can just use that to find this. So that would be sine of u is opposite over hypotenuse. And I know that square root of 5 on the bottom scares us, but it'll be okay. Cosine of u would be negative 2 over the square root of 5. And so now on the top, this is 2 over 1 by the way, so I multiply the top out, I get a positive 4. And then I multiply the bottom out and I just get a 5. Then I go to the cosine of 2u, and there's 3 formulas for that. Oh man. There they are. Okay. And it doesn't really matter which one you use, I'll just use the first one. Cosine squared minus sine squared. So the cosine is, again, negative 2 over root 5, and I'm squaring that. Minus sine is negative 1 over root 5, and I'm squaring that. So then we get squaring the top and bottom separately, 4 over 5, minus squaring top and bottom separately, 1 over 5, and then 4 minus 1 is 3 over 5. So that'd be the cosine of 2u. And the tangent of 2u, you can use the formula, or you could just take the sine over cosine. Then the 5's will cancel and you get 4/3. We've got no, do we have a problem? No, we don't. Okay, we're good. So now we're looking at law of sines, law of cosines. On page 272, number 1, they ask us to use the law of sines. Now, if I start filling in the triangle with the information they gave me, A is 30 degrees, B is 45 degrees, and side A is 12. So I would know to use law of sines anyway because I've got side, angle, angle, right? And if you look on your formula sheet, it'll say side, angle, angle, or angle, angle, side on your formula sheet for the law of sines. And so now I can start setting up to find the rest of them. I can find this angle here just by taking 180 minus 45 minus 30, right? And it gives me 105. So this is a beautiful drawing, very accurate, I might add, right? So 105 right there in that little acute angle, and 45 up there in the obtuse. So we're doing good. And then we can start using law of sines. We need to find side B and we need to find side C. So we just start setting up sine of 30 degrees over 12 equals, let's go for B, sine of 45 degrees over B. Okay, sine of 30 degrees You could use a calculator, I suppose, on this one if you're not sure, but that's 0.5 over 12 equals the sine of 45 degrees. Well, that one's a little bit more difficult just because it's a, that's annoying. It's going to be a decimal of 0.707 over b. And then we take that times 12 equals divided by 0.5 equals, and we should get 16.97. How'd I do? Did I do okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Okay, now I need to find side C. So once again, I'll set up. I'm going to use A again because those are my givens, and I want to use as much given information as possible. Now I've got the sine of 105 degrees over side C. So then we go ahead and cross multiply and divide. Divide by 30 sine. And I got 23.18. I hope that's right. I'm feeling good about it because I'm noticing this is my biggest angle according to number, and that's my biggest side according to number. So it looks good to me. This is one of those where we have angle side side, don't we? Right? We've got angle side side. So now we have to worry about the ambiguous case. So now we have to look at how does A compare to B. A is bigger than B. So look at your ambiguous case. What does that say? If A is bigger than B, does it have something that says? One triangle. Is that what it says? One triangle? Yay, us. Then we can just go to town. Okay? We don't have to worry about it. So we've got the sine of 36 degrees over 8 equals the sine of B over 5. Okay, so now we're going to cross multiply and divide. So we've got the sine of 36 times 5 equals divided by 8. I get 0.367 equals the sine of B. And what do I do with that? How do I figure out what B is? Inverse. Inverse. So I've got the inverse of sine, and I get 21.55 degrees. How'd I do?
Good. It's rounds up to 21.6.
Okay, so then I take 180 minus 36 minus 21.55, and we get 122.45 degrees. That's a bummer. Okay, now we have to find our third side. Excuse me, we can do that by going sine of 36 degrees over 8 equals the sine of 122.45 degrees over C. And then once again going to cross multiply and divide. And I get 11.485 for C. So now we're on number 1 on page 279. We're given side, side, side. If you look at your formula sheet, that means we need to use the law of cosines. Also remember that hint. If you want to stay away from having an ambiguous case later, we need to start with our biggest side. So we're going to start with 12 squared equals 8 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 8 times 6 times the cosine of C. Whew. Right? It's just straight plug into it for A and B on the right hand side, C on the left. And then we do our math. 144 equals 64 plus 36 minus 96 cosine of C. 144 equals 100 minus 96 cosine of C. Do not subtract 196. We're going to move the 100 over, right? 96 is attached to cosine. Okay, and I'm trying to get cosine by itself, so I'm going to divide by negative 96. So 44 divided by 96, we will get negative 0.4583, repeating, equals the cosine of C. And then to figure out what C is, I'm going to do inverse, and I get 117.28. Do they go to 3 on the book?
Yep.
Okay.
So it doesn't work if you don't do the big side first.
It'll work if you do the big side, or if you don't do the big side first, but you might end up with an ambiguous case later and have to figure that out.
Well, that's definitely not what I got.
Okay, so then yeah, probably. It's probably that you didn't do the ambiguous case then and you picked the wrong triangle then, basically. So go with the biggest side first. It'll save you all kinds of worry. Okay? All right, if that's 117, now I can go back to the law of sines. I mean, you could do law of cosines 3 times here. I don't suggest it, though. Do the law of cosines once, get the angle that you need, and then now we can use the law of sines. So we've got sine of 117.3 degrees over 12 equals the sine of b over 8. Cross multiply. So times 8 divided by 12. And I get 0.59 equals sine of b, and then do your inverse. And you get that b is 36.3. And then we can start taking things away from 180. So minus 117.3, and then minus 36.3, and I get over here 26.4 degrees. All right, so number 3, we've got A is 50 degrees, and B is 15, and C is 30.
So could use law of sines.
Well, we've got side, angle, side. So which one does that fit in? Look on your formula sheet, side, angle, side,
The other one.
in the
Cosines.
folder back there. Huh?
Cosine.
Law of cosines. So we're going to go with the law of cosines then. I'm going to have to make sure that I use A, the one with A squared equals, because that's the angle. That's the only angle I have, right? So I'm going to go, okay, A squared equals 15 squared plus 30 squared minus 2 times 15 times 30 times the cosine of 50 degrees. So A squared equals 15 squared is 225 plus 30 squared should be 900 minus 2 times 15 times another 900 times the cosine of 50 degrees. So let's see, we got 1125 minus, okay, now if I go cosine of 50 degrees times 900, I get like 578.5 something, right? And then I take that away from 1125, and it gives me 546.49. That's what A squared equals, though. So we need to square root both sides. So then A equals 23.38.
Whoa.
Or 23.4.
23.38.
Did they do 3.8?
Yeah.
Why do they change up what they're doing?
Don't ask me. This is what I was having trouble with when I did it.
Well, it should be close enough. Okay, now that you have that, we can go back to the law of sines. Okay, so we can do the sine of 50 degrees over 23.38 equals, and then let's just do sine of b over 15. And then we can cross multiply. And we should get that 0.49 equals the sine of b. And then do the inverse. And we get that b is 29.44 degrees. So then I can find my other angle by taking away from 180. So 180 minus 50 minus 29.44 gives me 100.56 degrees. And then to find, oh, I got everything, don't I? I'm done. Yay. Okay, so we're supposed to find side CA, the blue line there. I'm told that this angle right here is 80, so then I can figure out this angle is 100, right?
Yeah.
So then I have side, angle, side, and which one does that use? Law of sines or law of cosines? Looking at your formula sheets.
Side is cosines.
Is cosines. So then I'm going to set that up. Okay, so let's just put an x there. So x squared equals, oh, this is gross, 380 squared plus 240 squared minus 2 times 380 times 240 times the cosine of 100 degrees. Okay, so we've got ish.
Cosine of 100 degrees.
380 squared is 144,400 plus 240 squared is 57600 minus 2 times 380 times 240 times the cosine of 100 is negative 31673.4276-ish 1. Okay, now I'm going to add those to the other ones. So plus 57,600 plus 144,400. And I get this really nasty big number, 233,673.4276. That's what x squared equals. So to solve that, I need a square root.
Can't keep up with
I'm so sorry.
No, it's
Equals 483.4. Now, I'm worried about, these are big numbers, so it kind of scares me, right? But then as I go back up to the top and I look at, I've got 240 here, I've got 380 here, would it make sense that this would be 483? Looks like a long side, right? So it should be bigger than your biggest side. So I'm confident with 484. The only thing that I need to change, though, is this is in meters, so I need to actually write meters. And that would be my answer.